So here it is. Pam is going to lead us in kind of maybe like a stretching meditation at the beginning. However you feel so led.
Well, I would like to come into a seated position and find your center, find your ground, and just a moment of stillness. Just so you know where you are. Let's start there. Where am I? Where's your body? Check in. If something reaches out and grabs you right away, notice it. Maybe give it a little mental hug. Let it go. Especially if it's an ache or a pain and you're tempted to say, my bad back or my bad shoulders. No, it's, for lack of a better phrase, it's sweet baby kitty. Give it a little hug. Take a deep breath. In and out. Notice the parts of the body that are touching the floor. Rest your hands on your legs. Notice your seat. And grow the spine up from the floor through the low back, mid back, releasing the shoulders down. Grow taller to the back of the neck and the back of the head, tucking your chin just a hair so that the crown of the head reaches up towards the sky. And you have this action. There's action in the body. You have to engage the tummy just enough. You have to engage the back just enough so that you can stay nice and tall. And the support is the spine. So think about the spine and the tailbone reaching down into the ground, grounding down, drawing from that strength. And this oppositional traction. So then the upper part of the spine and through the crown of the head reaches up towards the sky. So in this way, you can hopefully find some relaxation and some energy, some activation. And then the mind won't get too sloppy, but maybe it won't be quite so agitated either. So we build our house, and then our mind will rest in awareness. Pause for just a moment or two in silence. Take one or two more deep breaths. Breathe in fully. Feel the chest expand, feel the back expand. Breathe all the way into the belly, feel the belly expand. And then squeeze up from the belly, through the chest, through the body. Exhale through the nose. Fully empty. Pulling the belly button in And then your body will just want to take a nice big deep breath again. Pulling in all the air, filling the chest, filling the back, filling the body, filling those joints, those areas of stiffness or tightness, and then squeezing the breath out from the bottom up, like your toothpaste tube, out the nose. And this time, breathe in fully, and on your exhale, drop the chin to the chest. Maybe you even lean forward a hair. Let your face really face down to the ground and feel length in the back of the neck. Notice how the back of the neck even reaches down between the shoulder blades. Still thinking about that oppositional traction. So the tailbone is reaching down into the ground, and you're still reaching out the crown of the head. So introducing some length to the spine. And then inhale up. And exhale, open your face up to the sky. So opening the chest, really drop the shoulder blades down, lengthen the front of the neck. Maybe you even bring your bottom lip up over the top lip. And inhale back through center, and let's move a little more fluid. So face down to the ground. Sigh it out. Inhale through center. Face up to the sky. Sigh it out. Inhale through center. And this time, drop your face down, sigh it out. Look over to the right shoulder, just your natural breath. Look over to the left shoulder. Face down, come back to center. Look over the right shoulder. So just turning your head to the right. Come through center. Look over the left shoulder. Come back to center. Drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Oh boy. Inhale through center. And exhale, visualize lengthening the neck, not stretching or pulling, not forcing or trying, just length. Inhale through center. And now take a couple of head turns. Slowly move cautiously through any areas of tension. Go around in circles one way, go around in circles the other way. And come back to center. Roll the shoulders. Inhale up. Exhale the shoulders down. Inhale up. Exhale and release one more time. Inhale the arms up overhead. Really stretch and reach. Open the hands. Drop one hand. Side bend. Exhale. Feel length along the side of the body. Reach to the other side of the shawl. Inhale up. Exhale to the other side. Reach and grow. Inhale up. Let's do our twist. So one hand behind the hip, other hand coming across to the knee. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Think about looking back behind you, even if you don't get there. Just think about it. And inhale through center. And exhale to the other side. Grab a knee. Reach back behind you. And inhale through center. And then handstand. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was nice.
I think we'll just do the benediction thing and call it a day. You feel better?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, thank you.
Awesome, thank
Thank you. So we are heading into a new series of things, basics series in our Everyday Dharma group here on Fridays. And we're going to do 4 weeks in a row on the Brahmavaharas, which are loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity. So I have the fortunate experience of starting with my favorites. I don't know if you should have favorites, but this is my favorite. Loving kindness. It is what sustained me in coming here. I have started. It was the first practice and the most basic practice that Ruthie has led us in for 8-9 years at the end of most every day. And the practice of loving kindness is foundational, to use what Pam was talking about, things of being grounded, being centered. It's foundational, but it is interestingly an attitude of a trained mind. One of the things why this is such an important teaching and such an important concept and so important to be here together is our Western mind needs to be retrained. Not necessarily to become Tibetan, not necessarily to become something else, but needs to be retrained to come back home to where it belongs. And we have deviated in the West from these kind of things, which the East has often centered on. And loving kindness is one of them. I would not say that I would describe where a majority of you all come from, besides Costa Rica, as loving kindness places. I don't want to say anything more. I think it seems so obvious that this undercurrent of energy, trained energy, is crucial for us. It has been crucial for me. As Ruthie said last week, I've always probably been a Buddhist. I've been a bunch of other things, but I've probably always been a Buddhist because I believed that I needed, like Dorothy, to return home. And that home was always there. And that if I was dissatisfied with home, that's my journey to return there. There are some adventures, as in The Wizard of Oz, but I think it's very Buddhist when they say at the very end, there's no place like home. There's no place like coming back to where you have belonged all along and where you started. That's a really beautiful idea. Loving kindness is a practice by which you stay home, where you're comfortable in your home, where you're comfortable in yourself, you're comfortable in your circumstances. No matter what the circumstances are, you're good. You're bright. You're gifted. You're light. When it feels dark, when the circumstances look dark, the light is still available. It's not in the circumstances. It's not in someone else. It's not in the atmosphere of tension. It's there available to you all the time. It's one of the reasons why a loving kindness practice is so crucial to living a peaceful life, a happy life. I know I'm speaking to the choir when I say this stuff because so many of you have practiced loving kindness meditations. I do every day. will say that with pride. When the day is rushed and I'm in the car, I do loving kindness meditation while I'm in the car. But to set aside a time to return to your roots is crucial to living a Western life that's enlightened, or on a road to being enlightened. The word light, right, and enlightened. So I don't need to do a lot of defining of loving kindness. I'm going to do a little. One of the thoughts that we had when we talked about doing a series like this is, how can I deepen these four qualities? How can I continually deepen this for me? And so there's a real practical section, and I want you all to weigh in on some ideas as well at that point. How can I be more kind? How can I be more compassionate? How can I be more sharing sympathetically in the joy of others? And then the icing on the cake is found in the balance. The other three are like the cake, and the equanimity is like the icing on the cake. So loving kindness is from the Brahmavaharas, which the Buddha taught about, and there's so many different ways of describing this. But I did. No, I'm good. You go ahead with it.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're not interrupting. This is a good spot.
The definition. I think I can talk now. The Brahmavahara means the highest abode. An abode is something we think of as a house. Well, obviously, loving kindness is not a thing, nor is compassion a thing. None of this is a thing. So how is it a abode? It is the home, or as Jeff called it, the ground. We talk in Buddhism so much about, we use analogies and metaphors and similes and everything to express that which is so difficult because it is formless. And this kind of abode is a formless abode, and it dwells within. It's in here. You are never without it. It is where you are practicing to live in and move out from. And so you might say this is the home of your Buddha nature. And the other day we didn't have the paper with us, but the good description Jeff has already talked about of his home. The best description ever of going home is your Buddha nature is in the Tibetan book of the dead. And I'll let Jeff read. It's this one right here.
Yep.
This is the Brahmavahara. And what is the abode? What is it that you are seeking to build as your home in this world, for all worlds?
Remember the clear light, the pure, clear, white light from which everything in the universe comes, to which everything in the universe returns. The original nature of your own mind. The natural state of the universe unmanifest. Let go into the clear light trust it, merge with it. It is your own true nature. It is home.
Now, last week when we did the metta, I did something I'd never done before, definitely not in the last 9 years, which is when we got to the person of conflict, I threw it in and threw it over. I don't know really why I did that, except for the fact that the whole world that we seem to be coming in and out of, or literally coming into it from different directions, is so totally, this pandemonium, this chaos, is just crazy right now. And I think we say that when you practice something every day, or even once a week, every week, it becomes rote. And we may forget the intensity of why we're doing that practice, which is why suddenly I just had this urge to talk about why we had to have loving kindness, because it's not unicorns and roses. It's against seriously negative, dark things. And it all will come back. I'm not going to talk much longer. It will all come back. Everything is to love, but you notice we call it loving kindness because love has so many different faces. This is the particular love that is the expression of how much we love the world, our compassion. And as Einstein said, the only way that we can actually come to life is by widening our circle of compassion that overcomes the separation between each and every one of us and one another. Everything is us versus them right now. It's all warfare. It's all weaponized. So we come here and you go in here in order to actually bring about the unity that comes from the truth of all creation, which is love. And that is what your abode is. Two quick things. I mentioned one of them before. I mentioned both of them before. You find lots of it in music lyrics. I think last week I mentioned Paul Williams. Every act of kindness is a little bit of love we leave behind. So all our days when we practice, we are trying to leave basically a path to our home. It's a path of love. If you like, as I do, the Grateful Dead, in Uncle John's band, which is about John the Baptist taking people to the river. And I love the line, this is, you're being invited to come along with Uncle John's band. The question is, are you kind? Are you kind? Loving kindness is your manifestation of your own true nature. And when you are in it, you will experience equanimity, and we'll get to that on other talks, but that's love and balance. When you're out of balance, you're not really home, are you? You want to come back to that place where you have, it's a refuge, that's why we take refuge. And now I'm going to turn this back over to Jeff and work on my breath. But if you can think of this as the home of your Buddha nature. So you have a material home and you have a formless home. And day by day, choice by choice, we live in both. So that's where the balance has to come in. Okay? Mm-hmm. Take it back, Jeff. Okay. Or Tana. Thank you, everybody.
So let's center in on loving kindness. We're going to do 4 weeks of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Loving kindness interestingly, is not a feeling. Loving kindness is a cultivated state of mind. Cultivated, practiced, refined, polished. A cultivated state of mind in which our attention and concern is directed toward the happiness of others. It's a very interesting thing because the first thing that we do, give me a moment here, I'm going to get to it. The very first thing that loving kindness is about yourself.
Now I'm about to say, thank you.
Give me a moment. I was
All
going to
right,
get
I'll
there,
let you
Ruthie. I got your vibes.
Okay.
That's the really, really interesting thing about this is that actually all four of those details, flavors, aspects, and directions of love, loving kindness, the compassion is how we would give ourselves to others who are suffering. Sympathetic joy, how we would give ourselves to others when they're succeeding, happy, joyful. And then how we do that in a balanced way between us and those circumstances, those two set of circumstances. When you look at all four of those, that's a very directional picture, north, south, east, and west, of this kind of heavenly abode that's available to us on earth. I want to do just one little detour on that. This is very different than most organized religion. Most organized religion has a place that you look forward to, that you work at being a good person or receiving grace so that that is available to you. This is a heavenly abode available to you internally on earth.
Energy is light.
And so that loving kindness is the first of those directions. It's a cultivated state of mind. What that means is that in our training, in our living, in our experiences of being ourself in the world, that we get confused, that we get off track, we go down detours, we get led there, sometimes we're willing, sometimes people just drag us there, and the circumstances drag us there. When you practice this cultivation, you're led always back to loving kindness with yourself and with others. It's uncircumstantial. When you cultivate that, and that's why if you've been here a while or if you're new, you start where you are and you work to deepen that, to make it more pervasive. So what I want to give an example. I've given this example before. It's a real life example. I love the part of loving kindness meditation where you give blessings to your, quote, enemies. The fourth part, the people who are problematic for you, or you're problematic for them. Right away I'm just like, yep, that's for me.
That's why I jerked us back to that a little bit, just for contrast purpose. That we need not get into rote with it.
Mm-hmm.
As we're doing this continuous practice, remember what it's like to really feel that animosity and how awful it feels, and all the horrible things it leads to, which we are seeing in full measure.
Yeah. I have an ex-wife.
And we hope
Not
she
gonna-
stays that way.
She is. She'll stay that way. Yes. And she has actually a quite a happy life beyond the last 30 years, which I have sympathetic joy for her. As a matter of fact, I even sat in her house on the last trip because my son was there. They were gone. And I got permission to sit there while he was going through some things. And I sat there and I'm like, this is really, really lovely. It's not my house. Interestingly, there are a couple pieces of furniture that were from our original house that, in the breakup, this ended up with her. And I was just like, isn't that lovely furniture? No attachment at all to it, I was just like, how wonderful is this? And did I feel a little snippy at times? Sure. I was just like, wow, there's a lot of pictures on the wall. I'm much more of a minimalist when it comes to that stuff. And then I was like, yeah, don't do that, Jeff. Don't go down those snipey detours. So, a while ago, maybe a year and a half ago, my daughter, who lives in Ironwood, Michigan, had a birthday party for her son, because it was November. And it was the first time in 2 years that we had seen each other, because we're both grandparents and the stepdad is a grandfather, and everybody's, there for the birthday party. And I did a loving kindness meditation with only one part on that day, not the 5. I did a loving kindness. I stuck with it, wishing that in almost like a mantra kind of way, just for her.
Just for her.
So that I could put my mind in order. I could be foundational. I could be to my roots, to the compassion that I feel. So the birthday party is going on great. I said to my daughter, I'll work behind the scenes and clean up dishes, and you can go on with the games with kids and those things. And it's a role I felt comfortable in. And so she said, great, that'll be really helpful. So I did, and I'm overdoing dishes or putting little plates in the garbage or whatever it was I was doing. And my ex-wife comes over. This is in the kitchen that's around the alcove from the room where all the action was happening. And she wanted to have an in-depth conversation. I used to run from these conversations. Because I had practiced loving kindness towards her, I stayed calm. Actually, I feel a little nervous telling the story, which is weird. But I was calm, and she talked through something she was struggling with about the past, which is often problematic for us. And it wasn't directly about me, but there certainly was insinuations that I was part of the problem. And I listened with loving kindness for about 7 minutes. I'm guessing. It was probably 5 to 7. It felt long. but and then and there were a few times where there was enough air to say, boy, that, I did add something at one point about, I think that was then, and this is what we knew then, and therefore this is what we did then, and we really thought it was the best thing, and maybe it wasn't. It was kindness, it was compassionate answers, and then I ran out of loving kindness. I could feel it. I could sense it, that I had 7 minutes worth of my practice available to me on that day. I'm being really honest here with you all. I worked at that for 7, 8, 9 years, and often have her as that person in the loving kindness thing, because my mind can quickly go to that snarky person.
Right.
That I've been trained to be, and that's not who I want. That's not who I am.
That's the most important sentence of all. Not who you really are. Who you really are is loving kindness.
It is, and so when I ran out of loving kindness, I ran out.
Get home. You what?
When loving kindness vacated me,
Yeah.
I vacated.
Good.
I'm really actually
Detached
so
involvement.
happy that I had the sense that I had none left, and that the only person available was Mr. Snark.
Oh,
For the-
I have
for-
such
for-
a snarky
for-
streak.
For the rest of it. And so afterwards, it is super interesting the result of that. The result of that is I believe that my daughter had walked in during part of that, and yet at least I had not noticed her. And I was going to leave the birthday party and go back to Minneapolis 4 hours away at the end. And so I was gathering my stuff, and she goes, it's funny, she's not a drinker, and she goes, would you like to go have a beer? My daughter. In the middle of her kid's birthday party. Now, at the end of it.
Something she wants.
And we went, and I'm like, yeah, I can make time for that. I'm not a beer drinker, so I was just like, okay, we'll go. And it was the most interestingly kind interaction with me and her, and we did not talk about that. But that was the residual of me changing my energy, at least for 7 minutes. And it spilled out. I was really actually surprised. She just went to her husband and said, can you finish the rest of the party? I'm going to go have a beer with my dad. I was intrigued by it. I wouldn't have ever had interrupted her kid's birthday party to ask her to go away somewhere with me. But I was really intrigued, and I've thought about that many times, that my goal with loving kindness is that I have more than 7 minutes. But I'm really grateful for the 7 minutes of compassion that I've never had before in 30 years. I was just like, okay, that's the right road, Jeff. And also, it's the right road when I run out of that I vacate. You know, I mean, you go to anger management classes there, the first thing you do is walk away. You know, so you can gather yourself in the middle of that. So loving kindness is a really powerful thing, but it's a progression of training our mind to do that. What are some of the benefits? According to the Buddha, here's the benefits of loving kindness.
Lots of them. And he's right about every one of them.
Sleep in comfort. Wake in comfort. Less bad dreams. This is the Buddha talking. Becoming dear to other human beings. His words. Becoming dear to non-human beings. Concentration comes easier. Our countenance, how we show up on our face, becomes calm and serene. One dies unconfused.
It's true.
And I'm gonna add one. There's a pretty extensive list, but those are really good things of the benefits. Yeah,
Very practical.
they are very. It's very practical. It's like a mental health manual, really, that he's writing there.
Can I interrupt right now for a moment?
Could I
On
do
that
one more?
last one?
Could I do one more?
But don't let me forget.
I want to add that I think you have peaceful relationships with self and others when you practice loving kindness. That you have peaceful relationships with yourself and with others. The further you go into this, the more peaceful, more of a peacemaker you will be internally and externally. Now go ahead.
Well, actually, two things. I went back way up. I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and has run into the problem where when practicing solo loving kindness with the person of conflict, she's quite capable of manifesting those, the expanse of that, and find peace within herself. Unfortunately, the minute she is with that person, they attack her in one way or another. And she has not yet been able to sustain the attack. And that's where, right beyond loving kindness, Marsh is your favorite thing. Loving kindness is mine. Yours is detached involvement. So right behind the loving kindness, remember the last of the Lojong trainings. Don't expect applause. Don't expect much of anything. You're not going to necessarily change the people you are in conflict with. You are going to change the conflict within yourself. And so you can vacate, even if you can't get out of the room fast enough. You can shut down. As far as dying goes, what did he put? How did he
One
put it?
dies unconfused.
Okay. Well, I really kind of not sure it's exactly that, but I am so glad I lived this long because I came to the Dharma actually in college, but I had had a childhood which was extremely dysfunctional both in and out of the home. It was during the war, in my most formative years, World War II, and life was very anxious. Lots of stress, lots of nerves. And to be happy made you feel guilty. What I call closet happiness. Because, we were talking about this yesterday with Mark, because you don't limp before the lame. And so you're not having a party when the people next door just hung a gold star in their window. So everything was very subdued. And as I've often pointed out, it was very conflicted. My first song and the anthem for me of the war and of all wars was Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition. And there was an essential paradox here that even as a child I recognized wasn't good. But anyway, so I found out that to be happy was a very solitary thing. And I could wish it for other people. So that's what I did. I didn't know it was called loving kindness. I didn't have any framework for it. I just said, well, if they're not going to be, I'll just do it for myself. I can't get it from them. Now here I am at all these many years later, and I went to the Dharma because to express loving kindness. That was my center. And now I will tell you, in the last year, I have had a chance to really sit down and take a look. We've already talked about the gratitude. I have found that by practicing it all these years, it came back with what's the word? Abundance. Okay? So doing this practice works because I have a snarky streak. I'm so glad you do too. And I had to work on that for a long, long time. It was my defense, was to use words to hold people away, to stay uninvolved while being involved, etc. And I practiced loving kindness once I learned what it was and how to do it. And it has led to a final stage of life that is very unconfused as to whether Buddhism works or doesn't. It's experiential, is that the right word? And if you do it, it works. You'll die quite happy. As I say, old age is okay. Sickness is not okay, but death is okay. So of the three things that he does for suffering, no matter what, only one of them is iffy, that's sickness. The other two are very, very comfortable if you let them be. And with that, I should turn the table
Thank
back
you.
over to you.
No, it's really good.
I don't
Ruthie.
know if that makes sense, but anyway,
It really does.
it does to me. I'm very happy. I'm happier than I probably ever have been. And I've had so much time to sit back and look back and do the review things and remember so many things and realize I now can see various stages of the path along the way and how the Dharma has actually played into all of those and been there for me every time I needed it. And so I will say from experience that I wasn't wrong when I told you that practicing are two things, loving kindness and the Brahmavaharas and all of it, but detached involvement on a daily basis. All you have to do, if nothing else, is just be kind. And start with being kind to yourself and then pass it on to everybody as best you can. So, that's it.
So how do we deepen this? I have 11, and I bet you have 20. How do you deepen loving kindness? How do you really practice this returning to a calm state of mind? 1, regularly meditate using the fivefold metta. We're going to do this at the end. You'll see kind of what this loving kindness meditation is all about. Loving wishes for yourself, for someone you love, for someone who you might be neutral about, someone who might be problematic, and then the whole world. Regularly meditate using this fivefold metta. If you haven't started it, it can take you as short as 5 minutes, a minute on each. If you start to expand that, you'll deepen. Number 2, regularly meditate using unnumbered, regularly meditate using either these Brahmavaharas as a subject matter, or choosing just one thing, as I did on that day, the birthday party day. I just chose to go to wishing in a mantra form loving kindness for one person who I was going to face that day. 2, add 4 Brahmavaharas to your focus meditation. Add these loving kindness. Have that be the focus of your loving kindness meditation. 4, add background music to your loving kindness meditation. If it helps you, do it. If it helps you to stretch beforehand so you can settle into it, as Pam taught us.
This is your personal
Absolutely.
practice.
The 5th one is similar to what Ruthie said. Practice encountering each person with a heart and mind of loving kindness. Make it your habit that you see every person with loving
And
kindness.
it really doesn't have anything to do with what they're bringing to you.
It doesn't matter at all.
It's better practice when they're bad. That gives you a chance to work on it.
6, create a same place by which you practice loving kindness. If you're a person who likes change the places and the way you do this. If you're a person who likes and the groove of the same place, do that. If it means that sitting on a cushion means that, okay, I can't do this today, do your meditation while you're walking. Change your position if that's what seems to be the way that you are. See detours when they arise and don't follow when you're doing your loving kindness meditation. See them, leave them, come back. We do this all the time, especially in our open meditations. And when Sharon has workers here and there are cars coming down the driveway or the animals come in and all those things, that kind of creating, noticing the detour, coming back to the road, coming back to the main road.
Bringing it home.
8, practice acts of loving kindness.
I have had that just out the wazoo
Make a plan
in the last 6
to be
months,
loving.
I'll
On
tell you.
that day, the birthday party,
Not
I made a
practicing it,
plan to
getting it.
try loving kindness in my most difficult of circumstances.
It's come back to me like a tsunami.
To make a plan. Yeah.
I mean, all of it has come home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Watch, read, be mentored by those who practice loving kindness. Read about this, listen to it, be with people who practice loving kindness. There's a lady who has been here from our property for about 4 weeks. They're gone now, back to Utah. To be in her presence is to be in kindness. She's the most kind person. Yeah, she's here 4 or 5 times. You met her last week.
Well, of course, I don't see him, so I'm not sure.
Melanie. Be with those kind of people. Have it rub off. That might mean the opposite. That if you hang around snarky people all the time,
That's
maybe
right.
you minimize. Doesn't mean you have to give them up. It just means that you have to minimize. And also,
You
if
get where you don't want to be with it.
you might,
Yeah,
you might, and then you're like, okay, enough of that.
You
There's
can,
this
but
was
you
this
can't.
was then.
You don't
This is now.
encourage it.
That was then.
You don't encourage it.
No, absolutely. Teach others loving kindness.
Got to be careful with that one.
Certainly example, but also present. It's really okay in a non-ego way to say, this is what I practice. I do this with some family members. They don't receive it well, but I do it because I want them to know that's where I'm coming from. And the last one I already did in my birthday party story. When loving kindness vacates. When it leaves you, pull yourself together. Because it can, and it will, probably. I bet you have some ideas besides these about how you deepen loving kindness. What are some of those?
I cried a lot in the early years.
You cried?
I cried a lot in the early years because I felt so inadequate at doing what I wanted to do,
Okay.
and all the animosities that came up all the time.
Yeah. So you got
Because I
used to
kept expecting results,
it. Yeah.
and I wasn't getting results. I was putting bread on the water and getting soggy goddamn bread, you know? And it took a while.
Yeah.
Takes a while. Just gotta kind of stay with it. I did find out I liked the feeling of being in loving kindness, even if you don't get it back.
Mm-hmm.
But at first, I was looking for the rewards, and so that was, particularly with people that you really love, and you can't satisfy them. And then finally, you just love them anyway. Mother Teresa's got that one right.
Other ideas that you have? Yeah. Tana, how do you deepen your loving kindness?
Loving kindness is so difficult for me. I learned to do loving kindness towards self first.
Yes.
And I couldn't stop crying. I could not stop crying for 3 years, I think. I took it to the teacher. I'm like, I can't do loving kindness. I start with myself, and all I do is cry.
Oh, isn't that interesting? I did a lot of that.
And he said, well, you've got thousands of lives worth of tears to cry, so cry.
There you go.
And I was like, oh, okay, no big deal, get on with it. amazing. When I first started, I didn't have a single person to generate the meta with. One person who I had a clear, open relationship that was not complicated in some fashion that I could just have bubbling up effervescent love towards. I used my pets.
I think most people,
Very much. I hear that a lot of people, I was learning
Their
inside
go-to.
of a course where everybody's talking about their experience with their first loving kindness practices, and pets came up a lot. Of course, we were in a course of people that were struggling and suffering and had signed up to learn to meditate, so we probably were a more conflicted group than general public, but perhaps not. The pets serve, I'll tell you that. The pets serve just fine. You can get your heart open and warm and loving towards pets and then move on to the more difficult people in your life. But I had to do some work on that Tana. Why was it so difficult to love Tana? And one thing that they also told me was, if I'm having difficulty with that, is picture yourself as a child. And it might be easier for you to love that more unconditioned being that you came here as. So that helped with my practice a bit. And then I settled some shit with my people, right? And then my dad, who I loved dearly, but I was conflicted with mostly because of addiction issues and what addicts do to the people that love them. He became my hero again, and he's my meta generator, the one, and I don't even know what I'm going to do when he's gone. I'm looking for a replacement already for my meta generator, but right now it's my dad. But a couple of months ago I came here during meta, couldn't find a difficult person.
you couldn't want to show.
I couldn't find the difficult person. The person I couldn't come up
Isn't
with
that
one.
wonderful?
Wow. Right? Wow. I
Yeah.
talked to a friend in here, she's like, oh, I got historical shit. I'm like, so did I when I first started this. But that's all cleaned up too. This
Ask
practice
Shira.
is powerful.
Sure, no
This
trouble.
practice is crazy powerful. And it doesn't cost anything, so get in ya. Even if you have to start with a dog.
The first time you notice that you can't find anybody you're in conflict with is a real eye opener.
Powerful shit.
Good, thank you. Thank you for those tenets. Someone else? Sharon, or did you want to jump in on Ruthie's thing?
We were just talking about
Yes.
that. How long ago?
Yeah. Well, by nature. Nature, just walking the trails or just breathing the air and just taking deep breaths. That really helps and reminds me gratitude.
Deepens your loving kindness and awareness and mindfulness. Yeah.
And Sharon has been talking about the fact, what we were talking about, that she couldn't find anybody she was really in conflict with. For number 4, for
Yeah.
loving kindness meditation. There's nobody, there.
Go ahead.
I had a comment about your 7-minute story, and it had a real impact on me because it was 7 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but it was kind of 7 minutes of pure intelligence where you knew that you were not going to take your energy and go into the past with this person and waste it like that. But then you had this beautiful moment or moments, like much more than that, with your daughter that sort of was born out of that. So then when you look at those times, even if you think they're not very long, that you can do that and just feel love and appreciation in the moment, even though it's really difficult, knowing that something will be born out of that, which was that moment with your daughter, was like pretty incredible, right? So just the staying power of that and knowing it doesn't have to be a long time for something really beautiful to unfold
No,
out of
absolutely.
that. And yeah, it just makes it, even the small moments are very huge moments, right?
When you do this, it becomes non-historical. It's not connected to your history, which is connected to suffering. It rises above that
You
into
see, the
into a different realm, the realm that you came from,
Right.
and the realm that you can return to now. Anyone else a way to deepen? Yeah, Linda.
When I have conflict with people, I often just in my head I hear they know not what they're doing.
Yeah. Father forgive them for they know not
I
what they do.
realize that they don't know what they're doing, and so how can I forget accept that? And basically,
Yeah, that's what Ruthie was saying. It just reminds me when we were talking about not finding anyone angry with, and it's the same thing. I finally, I was like, there's gotta be someone kind of scanning, searching.
Going through your
Exactly.
Rolodex.
And so that's what came up, and that was in the mud for a bit, and I could pull that up. And then same thing, the conclusion of, and it really changed the way I look most of the time at politics, is that they are ignorant, and it's from not having not being in touch with their beautiful nature, and that's why they do things. But and then sweeping away, then there's not that anger anymore.
Someone else deepening loving kindness? Something, yeah, Mark, I do.
One of the things I like to do when I'm connecting with the nature of Buddha nature of loving kindness is remember the feeling that I have when I'm in that deep meditative spot. It's uncomplicated, it's simple, it's uncorrupted, and it's free of distractions. But the hard part is when I go into my life, those distractions and corruptions and everything appear and want to take me out of my loving kindness. So one of the things that I started developing was finding an incense that I liked. And I would light the incense, and I would burn the incense while I was in that incredible place. And then, when I would get into my car, or if I was going somewhere where I knew I was going to be, or whatever, I would light the incense. And it wasn't necessarily that I had to do the loving kindness meditation or anything, but my body equated that state with the aroma of the incense. So unconsciously or subconsciously, I got the loving kindness, and I could go deeper in that situation so I was confronting something.
It's almost like a prop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the virtue of rites and rituals.
Yes.
Whether it's chanting or candles or whatever it is. For many people, it's like Pavlov's dog that rings the bell for them and puts them right into the spirit.
And smell is so underrated, and it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Well, I know I smell. People say it's
Let's say it's huge.
underreported. That's different. Underreported.
Don't personalize it, Mark. Anyone else? A way that you deep, yeah.
Well, I sort of go through this process whenever I'm engaging with something that is potentially conflicting. And the first thing I do is I go, what is it inside me that's triggering this? What is causing me to feel that this is a confliction? What is causing me to become defensive? Because I recognize that an attack can never start until the defense starts. And then I go to thinking about that I'm taking this personally. It's my ego that thinks this is about me. It's not even about me. This is about this person and about who they are. So I go through that and I think through that. Then I think that they are the way they are, or because of their conditioning and everything that's happened in their life to that point in time.
You don't take it personally.
Right. Right, of course I don't. And I've already gone past that part. I'm trying to see that.
Right.
And then I see that, there is no separation between me and that person. I am that person. That's what they're doing is me.
Hugely.
That's me too. And once I kind of go through that process, I end up in a place of love. And I go, you know what? Like everybody needs love. What we judge as the worst person ever needs love. And I always kind of end up there when I go through that. Now, this doesn't happen all the time, but it is happening with more frequency, and I'm hoping that it continues to be more frequent.
That's great.
This is good stuff.
I wanted to talk about Ruthie's loving kindness last week. That it came to me many times throughout the week, and I had a great laugh because you were hilarious. And honestly, I think many of us feel like we're saying we would add you bastards to some of that stuff as we go along, right? Because we are not all love and light, or else
this is a power play.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a very, very, very big power play.
I actually, until then, I thought I was the only one doing that. So.
You know, can I say one more thing? You know, I've always got one more thing.
Yeah.
That reminds me,
The floor's
one of
yours.
the-
I don't
We
don't want to
tell
take it from you.
everything with stories and whatnot.
That's good.
And right in line with what Tanya is saying, one of my favorite stories in Buddhism is the night the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and was enlightened, and Mara had done everything in the world to bring him out of his ability to be awakened. And finally he couldn't think of anything else to do, so he called in hundreds of archers with the big arrows. And he said, I'm just going to have to kill you. I cannot change where you're headed, and you're going somewhere that I don't want you to go. So they all lined up, they all pulled their arrows, the arrows flew through the air, and when they got to that circle around the Buddha, with his mind, they fell to the ground as flowers. And that image to me, it's a roses and unicorn image, to be sure. But to me that was a powerful image. That once you have your loving kindness unshakably, no matter who or what, no matter what they throw at you, it's harmless. You've already neutralized it. And then it's so easy to be happy. Anyway, boy, I'm so glad you had fun with that. I kind of had fun doing it. I don't know where it came from, but
I liked it.
it just popped in.
How about if I end with a Sharon Salzberg quote?
Perfect.
I want to encourage you. There is a book
She teaches
just on loving kindness, and I'm going to put it on the Facebook webpage. Loving Kindness, the Revolutionary Act of Happiness. Ruthie has quoted her often, so I have to go to my phone because it was too long for me to write. Let's see if I get to the right spot here. No. And this is her.
She is very down to earth. And
The Dalai Lama has said, "My religion is kindness."
yes.
If we all adopted such a stance and embodied it in thought and action, inner and outer peace would be immediate. For in reality, they were never not present,
Always.
only obscured, waiting to be discovered. This is the work and the power of loving kindness. The embrace that allows to the separation between self, others, and events. The affirmation and honor of a core goodness to others and in oneself.
It is your own true nature.
So let's be done with that. Loving kindness, the first of the Brahmavaharas. Next week, Mark, I believe you're on next week. Compassion, sympathetic joy, and then equanimity. Those would be the 4 weeks. Practice practically in your meditation and in your living, changing your view of the world through the training of your mind and loving kindness. It will indeed change you. So let's do it. Let's do the loving kindness meditation.
Okay,
This will be good for you.
we
Because
have
at least
one
now you know
newcomer.
we're going to practice what we're talking about.
We have one newcomer. Just follow along. I'll say a little before each one. You're going to choose 5 people. You're going to practice what we've been talking about. The first of the 4 Brahmavaharas, which is loving kindness, known here as either Maitri or Maitri or Metta. which is loving kindness. And you can do this any way you want. This is just the way I do it, but you can tailor it, you can shorten it, it can be simply a word, it can be directed towards specific people or what have you. So it is totally flexible, but it comes back through love as who you really are. It is the reality of your own true nature. And it is manifesting in a world which is difficult, so it sometimes doesn't seem to be that available to you. So you're making it yours. You're coming home to it. Okay. So, relax. Thank you, Pam, for a really good one. Take a stretch if you've been sitting too long. Take a moment. Yeah, ease it up. I like closing your eyes. Closing eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths. Bring to mind your own image, yourself. You can either see yourself as a reflection in the mirror, or you can just go into, if you're good at it, go into yourself. We'll address it as I. You're going to say 4 sentences. They go like this. I'll say them out loud. You say them to yourself. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, that's equanimity, balance, calm and peaceful. May I be happy. And now, move to an image of someone you love very, 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 very much. See his or her face. Smile. And say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Now we move one ring out farther out to a neutral person. Someone whose name you may or not know, in which case you can address them as friend. This is a person that you may just have a little bit of knowledge for, or you know quite a bit, but you've just never really gotten close. To this person, bring their image to mind. And if you don't know their name, say, dear friend, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And if it's someone that we just pass on the road every morning when we take a walk, they now retreat into our rearview mirror. And we take a couple of very deep breaths, and we bring to mind someone with whom we are in conflict. Someone who doesn't like us. Someone we don't like. It can be a little conflict or it can be a big one. Doesn't matter. Start with the littler ones. Look at this person and see them as a neutral person, sort of. Just look at them as another human being without with as little judgment, hopefully without any judgment at all, and say to this other person, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. This one you can sit with. Take a couple of extra breaths because we're going to make a shift here. We're now going from our material world of every day into which is a conditioned world. We're now going into what is called unconditional. And in this world we're going to say things a little differently. So, first of all, let's put our hands over our hearts. Our hearts are symbolically that place within us which is without barriers, which can encompass and embrace all living beings. And we bring to mind this phantasmagoria of billions of people, just like there are billions of stars, all leading their lives at the same time. And we're interbeinged with all of them. So now we say it this way: may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. Now you can sit with this for as long as you feel it permeating you when you're at home. But here, we need back into the conditioned world so we can open our eyes and release our hands. And together, just have to follow along lead me. Together we're going to do our benediction. And it goes like, oh, if you need it, it's up here to read. Okay, guys, 1, 2, 3, go.
Go in peace,
Go
making peace,
living gently, loving mightily, and bowing to the mysteries. There we go. Another absolutely gorgeous Friday.